linked it kind of to social issues like refugees.
Yeah.
Integration.
And kind of difficulties.
Yeah, we wanted to see where the line was really between integrated and being apart from Dartmoor, because I imagine it would be quite hard.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a case of kind of the different perceptions. Someone that's lived here forever, and then someone coming and seeing it for the first time and living there. And because for us who we're used to it, it's all that's there. But for someone coming in for the first time, it could be quite an alienating kind of area.
Do you feel closer to Dartmoor as a landscape, as somewhere you live?
I think sometimes you take for granted what you've got, even though it's all around you, and so this is nice to sort of be able to be wild with them more and really experience what it's like. The Wild Nights has been a brilliant experience for me, and still is. I think it's given me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't have done it.
Socially, do you think that you've got really close to the people that come on these trips and the company?
I think it's really nice to be able to come away with people and sort of learn more about them, because when you're acting sometimes you don't get the time to really get to know a person.
And sort of nature-wise, because I know we were talking earlier about different trees and stuff, do you feel you've got a lot more knowledge on that sort of side of things, the ecological side? Yeah,
it's really nice to be able to walk on Dartmoor and see the trees and see birds and be able to recognise them and be familiar with them. That's useful knowledge to have.
We were told a lot about the wolves that used to be on Dartmoor, and I think that was something we took as sort of a big inspiration for the play.
The wolf that could have lived in a cave like this behind perhaps and sheltered in there at some point, reared its young.
Suddenly, more appeared behind him, forming a pack, amber lamp-like eyes burning into the darkness, searing through the night.
In December 2004, as part of the Wild Nights Young Company project, Med Theatre's young people came to Pixie's Holt Training Centre near Dartmoor on Dartmoor. This was a crucial stage in gathering inspiration for the plays which they were going to write. Now, in February 2007, they have returned for a weekend to reflect upon the successful completion of their project.
I always remember jumping around in the tent, and Mum and Dad would be like, shush, and we would always jump around.
We were going to Haven, we had those horses.
Yeah, we named them.
I remember one time me and my dad went camping in Boscastle.
Oh yeah.
When I was like proper little, and then we got woken up in the middle of the night because we just heard all these like weird noises. It was actually like a pig like shuffling its way into our tent.
Then a little bit about that first experience you had out here when you stayed here before.
Wild Nights Young Company.
Yeah, that's
So
the
you're
name
the
of the
Wild
group,
Nights
the
Young
Wild
Company.
Nights, which originated from the first wild night that we had, which was camping at Brint's Farm, which is just up the road from here. And we walked back through there today, and it was really strange because that was about 3 years ago. And it was like retracing our footsteps after 3 years of kind of having
We
developed our writing and plays and stuff.
So you arrived at Roots Farm. What were you thinking about doing? What was the plan?
The idea was to get kind of like a stimulus
for project that we were doing.
Yeah, to get some contextual knowledge as well.
It was actually really weird when we first got there because Tom, our guide, turned up and he just told us to take off all our watches. So we had like no idea what the time was, and he took all our phones off. We had no sort of contact with the outside world. It was really weird being sort of in a bubble.
I remember that.
Yeah, he didn't want us to be influenced by any of the outside kind of life we're used to. He wanted us to go back to kind of basics.
The origin of Wild Night's young company lay in a camping trip at Brinks Farm on Dartmoor, led by Tom Wigston of Devon Discovery, with the support of Annie Lewis of Med Theatre. This trip, at the request of a group of young people, provided the education and inspiration that would lead to the creation of the Wild Night's Young Company project.
Yeah? You're going to be warm enough.
Where was the moment when you were at Roots Farm that you got inspired about what your project would be? Probably the sunrise.
Yeah, I think
That
so
was
too.
when we really knew.
It was one of the kind of biggest moments, I think.
Can you describe that moment to someone?
It was,
We were sitting on our own, weren't we? Like really
Yeah.
far away from everyone, and it was really silent, apart from sort of the bird song and everything.
it was really dewy and quite misty, and then the sun came up in front of us.
It was like really pinky orange.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Tom, who took away your mobile phones and your watches. Who is Tom? What's his role?
He works as a kind of outdoor activities guide, and his role on the sort of trips that we had was to show us a bit about the ecology of Dartmoor and lead us around and create little activities.
We also did a timeline of Dartmoor, like how Dartmoor was created, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were on the walk and we did a timeline saying, oh, well, this was, at this point in the walk, it would have been still molten rock and things like that. And then we got to about a few steps away from the tour, which was our goal. And he said, now this is where humans came in, just to show us just how old. Yeah, just to show us just how old Dartmoor really is.
Try and imagine vast periods of time. Right, a little bit further. Where's the Broadstones from here?
Is that nice and cool on your feet?
I have wellies on.
Yeah, but it's still cool.
Those really harsh ice ages had an incredible effect on Dartmoor as well. The ice got into the cracks in between the rocks, expanded and shattered them. And you get these slopes, like we're standing in now, shattered rocks. Imagine something that's solid, expanding and contracting. It starts to crack, and then the water gets down, and sometimes that water during certain periods was really acidic. It starts to break down the rock.
So tell us about Roots itself. From those sort of first beginnings at your residential, what was developed? What came out of it?
Well, we started with lots of different sort of ideas and stories that everyone had went away, and some people we started devising like separate ideas. There was about 9 ideas or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And we all sort of came up with pieces from them, and then we've spent a long time sort of slotting them together into one storyline, which ended up with, it was focused on the idea of the beech trees because we were passionate about that and protecting them in Dartmoor. And yeah, we made a link between them, the beech trees, and sort of people coming in to Dartmoor, people sort of alien humans in a sense, because they were called an alien species.
After the outing to the Dark Gorge with Tom Wigston, The Wild Knights Young Company visited Yarner Wood Nature Reserve and were given a talk by Phil Page of Natural England on the special qualities of the oak woodland there and the competition it faces from beech trees.
We were able to visit a wood where beech trees were being cut down.
Yana.
And that was sort of a big theme in our play, was actually opposing that, don't cut the beech trees down. So yeah, we were influenced a lot by Phil Page and his talk that he gave us, although we ended up doing the opposite of what he said. But we were able to learn like the other side, the reasons for, and
yeah, we had both the sort of arguments for it in the play. We sort of centred on one idea because that's what we believed in, but it was interesting to learn both sides.
Beech doesn't occur naturally in Devon. It was widely planted in the 19th century by the Victorians as a landscape feature. And what we're trying to do here is to create a natural woodland, ultimately, if there is such a thing. And beech is a very aggressive species. It regenerates under shade, and under oak. Oak doesn't regenerate under itself. So beech will always take over from oak. So we don't want to have a beech wood. So that's why we take out the big beech seedlings. So it's effectively a weed here. But some of the beeches have to be left because they've got bats in them. All the sort of nooks and crannies where beech also rots very quickly. If a branch drops off on beech, you get water goes into the tree and rots the inside.
So it's like danger cares, danger cares, danger cares, danger cares, danger.
Following the trip to Yarner Woods, rehearsing began in earnest.
That was much better.
For the final rehearsals, the company asked young director Jess Avis to take charge.
Well, that was obviously like really well timed. Might have not always cut that, but I think that worked because you don't just stop when you push her off.
Did my dad let you in? Oh yes, he was just on his way to work, he said. Is he still chopping down the beech trees?
The initial rehearsals had been directed by the young writers themselves.
And be like almost, you know when someone pressures you to do something that you don't really want to do?
How much control over the project did the young people feel they had?
We've had a good
We've
amount.
had loads.
Yeah, probably
We've
more
had
than we
a
wanted.
stupid amount of control. We're just like, we've done, like with our work experience,
Yes.
we've done lots of stuff. We've like painted the floor canvas, which
Yeah.
is really cool because it's like we're going to be acting on it and it's
Yeah.
our play and it's all really cool.
I feel kind of bad about walking on it now. But
Yeah. I hope it's okay.
When and where did you perform? We performed bits of it at Plymouth at the Barbican.
That was Refugee
that,
Week, wasn't
yeah,
it?
that was actually where the refugee link came in. We were able to perform it at Refugee Week.
Being. Being. Being.
You know your purpose.
To protect the forest from the girl.
So does that mean I'm to hang?
Eva, of course not. I'm here to help.
But why?
Because, my child, I see something in your eyes. I see life. And that life has to be preserved.
But what can I do? I have the power to cure, yet they treat me like an outsider. It's clear that we don't belong here. None of us do.
I wish Dad was here. It's not the same without him.
I don't want to talk about your father now. What do you mean there's nothing to do around here? There's plenty.
Like what, Mum? Go for another walk on Dartmoor. It's so boring.
Don't be so ungrateful, darling. We moved here to Dartmoor because it's beautiful. Really, you don't appreciate anything.
Well, why can't I go down to the cinema with my friends like everyone else does?
I've told you, you're not old enough or responsible enough to go into the town on your own.
So you were challenging the national park?
Yeah, which was
Yeah.
really good feeling, definitely.
Yeah. Although we were given a lot of our kind of ideas from the national
Yeah,
park.
they definitely helped us, but
Yeah,
allowed
they
us to
helped us.
oppose them at the same time.
Yeah.
That was good.
Where did you get holes in the rock?
I climbed a tree, a beech, and I saw the most amazing thing, Kes.
What?
In this clip, from the final night at Morton Hampstead, the ranger explains to his daughter Kes, who is in love with the beech trees, why he has decided to save them after all. Looking on are members of an alien tribe who, nevertheless, are so at one with the natural environment that they feel the pain of each beech tree as it is felled.
Through my body.
I don't understand.
Bats! And there must have been 100 of them. Their lives depending on the tree that my life was depending on at that very moment.
Does that mean... Are the trees safe?
These ones at least. They appear to be home to a huge colony of bats. The council won't touch them now. I'll make sure of it.
Do you feel you've grown creatively?
I have. Thinking about when I came here last year, I wasn't really very inspired about writing scripts, and I didn't really feel that I had the knowledge of Dartmoor to write anything confidently, but now I've started sort of developing that, and I think it's really working for me.
You've sort of grown creatively, your knowledge of Dartmoor has grown, and you yourself have sort of adapted and developed within the Wild Nights group and Med Theatre.
I think within the group and sort of Med Theatre as a whole and performing along with the young people and adults, I've become a lot more confident.
I didn't understand that.
When you went...
What does that actually
Yeah.
Oh,
wicked! Okay, cool.
What? After a day's activities on the moor, food at Pixie's Holt is always very important for the Wild Nights Young Company. After supper, it's time for entertainment, provided by the young people themselves. The Dartmoor storytelling sessions at Pixie's Holt provided an important seedbed for ideas. In the light,
they were sitting down, and Ronald went in to get them a cup of tea. And they were sitting there, and Frank was looking at Margaret very jealously.
and in the dark,
Ronald turns to Margaret, says, "Why did you do it?" She doesn't answer. "Why did you come back?" he says. And she just smiles at him, and that's answer enough for him.
We looked at another sort of issue from the National Park with the reservoirs in
Loricum is about a film director, Leon, who tries to fathom the mystery that lies at the bottom of Holland Reservoir.
So half of it was sort of Mark's experiences a while ago, and half of it was our experiences from us growing up here.
So yeah, that was another project for which we had to get sort of some groundwork information and learn a bit more before we could produce anything.
Oh, magpie. Magpie, fly us a pair. Oh, yes. And there's two for Joy.
Now, with the support of a full adult cast, the young company begin working on a basic scenario, writing and improvising scenes in Loricum based on memories of childhood from two different eras.
Yeah, quite comedy.
So
They could all be like maybe in the pub or something, and he could sort of enter and be like, "Hello."
Oh, I love those scenes so much.
you want to have a try at one of those, Jamie?
And maybe he could be quite outside.
Leon is
Leon is that.
Talking about Alden Reservoir.
Yeah, that'd be the one I'd be talking about.
What are you doing here?
Lauren wondered if you wanted to go town with her. She asked me to come up and find you.
Oh. What are you finding so funny?
Oh, nothing. Well, maybe you should tell them how you feel.
We held a production meeting with local professionals, Olivia Young and Sandy Berridge, artists, Rosalind Maynard, choreographer, Gillian Webster, musician, and Fiona Avis, costume designer.
And again we had choreography help because there was a dance element. So we played on kind of wildlife in that play as a kind of pivotal force that directed the story and how it would go, and that's kind of reflecting how we felt about our environment.
Because I'm going to be a teacher and work here on Dartmoor where you met.
I can't help my feelings.
I showed you Loricum. You told me it was something so special for you it would last forever.
But that was then, Tom. Looking back, I think we're just children playing on a fantasy.
Really? Isn't playing a part of love? Creating something, having the faith.
Things change.
Loricum was a trans-generational play. The children's fantasy world, based around the lost kingdom of Loricum, is split apart by contrasting parental attitudes to the reservoir. Finally, in the wake of a boy's suicide, this same fantasy world is the agent that heals the rift between the two families.
And also seeing the rest of the community company performing the scenes that we'd written was really interesting because
it was really good getting their feedback as well.
Yeah.
They came and read the play because a lot of people have been in Med for a very long time and they've done the community plays for years and years, and it was really interesting to get their comments on it and have them acting in it.
Yeah. It was really good, nice thing to see your own work being performed by people that kind of were so used to seeing each other perform our work that then seeing new people in a sense perform it was a good feeling.
Hi! Sorry, I'm later than planned. I had things to do.
Yes, like prop up the bar.
Lucy was filling me in on the gossip.
You could have told me he was my dad. You must have realised who he was.
Who? What?
Tom, Ben's dad. You met him the other week and you didn't send him this letter, so presumably he doesn't know either. He's my dad, and Ben's my brother.
There's life below the water. Now your love is your father's daughter.
I shall find my skilling stone beneath the water's hidden surface.
With the help of Ray Hall, Community Media Arts Director at Coombshead College, we received a First Light Award. This allowed us to work with professional filmmakers Mick Cutmell and Mike Bow and experience using Med Theatre's specialist equipment. We returned to Yarner Wood and spent 4 days in high summer creating the film, inevitably partly sheltering under umbrellas. We did all the film and sound work ourselves.
Stand by. Roll camera. Camera rolling. Action.
Will you come back here?
Cut.
film told the story of a refugee girl who finds that the removal of beech trees as an alien species stirs up memories from her past.
He said we were going to England, but at the time I didn't know where that was. I don't know how long we spent in the mountains. I just remember the shadows, the cold, and the moon.
Every time we go out on a different trip, we're learning new things about Dartmoor, which we always sort of take back with us and write about.
Do you think it brings you closer to Dartmoor?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We learn more stuff about Dartmoor and understand Dartmoor.
Yeah, and it like reminds you again of like what you do have and what you can do if you like get out.
So what do you think is particular to being a young person growing up in a national park?
It's sort of, you have to balance out the sort of isolation. There is an element of isolation obviously because transport is difficult and stuff and you're quite far away from places, but then you balance out that with sort of just knowing about the place and loving it from when you're really little, and it's really quite influential.
So if you knew that there was a group just like you, say, just meeting up for the first time in some national park up north somewhere, say, what advice might you give them?
I guess just have a go. Like, don't be worried
Go
to
wild.
throw yourself. Yeah, just sort of don't be worried about voicing your own opinions and make sure that what you want to say is said.
And do you think if this project hadn't happened, if you didn't have Wild Nuts and company, what do you think that would mean for you?
Well, Tuesday nights would definitely be more boring.
Yeah. Well, it's really helped us understand more about the history and roots of Dartmoor and the heritage.
And there's definitely things we found out about that we became really passionate about and felt we had to fight for, like the beech trees, for instance. Really felt we had to be a part of Dartmoor and be a part of what happened to it.
And we've all formed good friendships.
Yeah.
Really, really sweet.
It's built our confidence and
Yeah.
we've been creative.
Yeah.